Hello and welcome. I'm Çağlayan Arkan, Vice President of Manufacturing Industry at Microsoft. We are continuing our discussion around the art of possible. The art of possible is disturbing the status quo, particularly at this time when technology disrupts everything. It's about the leaders understanding the art of possible through the disruption through technology, how technology has already changed their businesses, how they compete, how they innovate. We will focus today's discussion on Outokumpu, one of those leaders who understand the art of possible and set on a journey to actually disrupt their industry. They are the global leader in stainless steel, and they are determined to stay that way. Outokumpu has taken bold steps to digitalize their operations using the power of the cloud, AI, and data, partnering with Microsoft. Their transformation has redefined the steel industry with one of the most compelling visions that I have seen so far. And they managed all of this during the height of the global pandemic, not blinking. To hear more, let me welcome Stefan Erdmann, Chief Technology Officer at Outokumpu, my good friend. Stefan, thank you for being here. I would first like to congratulate you on your new appointment on the Outokumpu leadership team. This is extremely exciting, obviously very, very well deserved.
Thank you, Çağlayan. It's really an honor to be here and to talk with you. Thank you very much.
Honor is all mine and ours. Thank you, Stefan. It was 2 years ago, I remember very well, when you announced your vision to transform your biggest factory into the most digitalized and the most competitive in terms of the stainless steel operations in the industry. And here we are. What you have achieved so far is just not only unmatched, but you are able to stay resilient, stay the course, lead the transformation during the one of the most unimaginable times in our history, I will say. So can you share your approach, what you have learned, how you really managed to stay the course here?
It's interesting that you say that. Many times I still think back, and it's amazing how time flies. Just, let's say, 18 months ago when we met at Hannover Messe, met you the first time, and we exchanged a little bit what thoughts we have about the path forward. So, well, it's the stainless steel industry is a rather old industry. I mean, metal is not so old, but at least the processes and the procedures that we have in place. And what our approach was is we wanted to make sure that in future, or as we go, the operators, the managers, the employees, everybody bases more of their decisions, their day-to-day decisions, but also strategic decisions on data. And that's something I think where the inspiration was giving in our discussion that we had a couple of months ago, where also you challenged the status quo and asked, okay, how do you want to do that? So what we do is just think about how we produce stainless steel. We are the only company in the world who has the full process chain from having a mine, digging in the mine for chrome ore, creating out of the ore, out of the mine, ferrochrome, injecting that together with scrap, melting it down, and then cast the liquid stainless steel into slabs, rolling them out, cleaning them, rolling them further down, and then in the end, sometimes or after a certain time, it will end up then at a kitchen or at an exhaust pipe or wherever stainless steel is used these days. And throughout the whole process chain, think about how many sources of deficiencies or opportunities for efficiencies there are. And that's where we thought about. If you are able to connect each and every process step, and see already from the next process step how the material arrives at your area. What has it seen in the process? What kind of footprint does it have? What kind of quality defects does it have? You are much better in a position to take smarter decisions than you would have if you wouldn't know these data. So our idea was, and that's one of the key project that we are running after. That the whole metal is throughout the whole process, not only in one plant. In the end, when we roll it out in each plant, connected with each other. So we can understand from downstream, let's say rolling the coil down to final thickness. We know how the coil looked like when it was on the hot mill. We know what kind of defects are on there, and we know what we should change in order to get rid of the defect. And ideally, at the later stage, we are not there yet, but at the later stage, we have artificial intelligence helping us to take the right decisions. Where do we have to change process parameters upstream in order to avoid the defects downstream? And we will talk probably in the next minutes also about what does it mean from sustainability point of view, from efficiency point of view, from cost point of view, and that's really where we see the big benefits and where we see this approach. It's not doing here or there an app on a let's say on a laptop or something like that. It's a transformation of thinking. It's a transformation of decision making that we are going after. It's a cultural transformation towards using data to take smarter decisions in stainless steel.
You touched on a number of things, and I will definitely come to the quality, the cost, all of these business outcomes, because those are the reasons why we're doing this. I'll go back to Art of Possible. Technology enables new things that are unprecedented, but technology is only a tool. And what we are partnering for is to drive the business outcomes that you're looking at driving. And on that note, I started with leadership and the Art of Possible, having the right vision. You're clearly leading the way there. The other piece that we always see as a fundamental premise is the culture, the behavior, the soft skills, and how you bring like thousands of employees along. You touched upon that a little bit. So before we go to business outcomes, can you expand a little bit on the cultural aspects of your transformation and how you're bringing people along from like old habits to kind of data-driven decision making and all of the other things that you're driving around culture?
Yeah, that's a big point. Especially it was slowing us down in the beginning because it's not easy to overcome these barriers. So in this partnership with Microsoft, we addressed from the beginning the importance of also thinking about the cultural barriers. What keeps us from being effective? What keeps us from questioning the status quo? We always ran within the last decades the process like this. Why should we now think differently? Why should we look at data which tells us to run it differently? And there, let's say, we started with looking into and having discussions inside the leadership team. Then we expanded. We had close discussions with Microsoft. Microsoft challenged us on, okay, why don't you go a step further in questioning your process? Why do you do it like you do, and so on. And then we created for each of the use cases, and we addressed in the beginning we started with 2 or 3 use cases. We had a roadmap for the first 18 months of about 18 use cases that we wanted to execute. And in these first use cases, we saw that there was lacking participation. There were lacking resources. There was resistance in questioning the ways of going forward. There was no real testing and using the first developed product that Microsoft together with our team created. So there was a certain time, I still remember it very, very vividly, last year in November, we sat together and we thought, should we continue with this? Should we continue with this transformation? Should we continue with these use cases? Because we do not see the buy-in of the operator. We do not see the buy-in, especially of the leadership team. And we said, let's talk to the teams. Let's explain why we do that again. So after discussing with the leadership team, making sure that we make these two use cases tested, and then see based on the feedback whether we continue or not. And the nice thing about success is that you get addicted. And
I love it.
Once you see, once you feel, and once you live with your team's success, the people try to embark. And that's what we saw. So suddenly more departments ask, oh, can we do it as well? Where is our participation in the digital transformation? Why do you just start at this point of time in the melt shop? Why can't we also roll it out to the hot mill and to the cold mill and so on? So to answer your question, it's I think you have to go through that. You have to learn it. You have to get this trust in the leadership team within the partners to also openly talk about it, because it doesn't help if one partner, for example, we say Microsoft doesn't get it done, or Microsoft says Outokumpu doesn't get it done. Now we have to analyze it. We have to talk to the people, and we have, in the end, to get everybody on board. And that was then the starting point where now everybody is extremely proud to participate, and it's just a natural thing that we talk now about rolling out and not about stepping back.
I remember those days vividly as well. I remember hosting all of you at the EBC, at the very EBC that I am in. The difference is obviously I'm the only one in this huge building, Stefan. But it's just a fascinating story. And we walked that journey together in terms of one use case at a time, and you deliver success after success. And as they say, success has many parents. And so I'm glad that people are jumping on board and just providing more tailwind as opposed to resistance or not buy-in. So that's perfect. That's leadership. And that's delivering results. And I will point out to obviously very quick cycles that you're achieving these. It's not like 3 years later. It's like a few weeks later. And then there's a roadmap. It's just you're doing all the right things, and I'm very, very impressed and proud to be part of it. Let's touch on a little bit on the harder aspects, the outcomes. I know. You've seen and proven improvements around quality, around efficiency, around productivity. The list goes on. Can you touch upon these KPIs a little bit? What you have achieved? What impact have you seen?
Yeah, Çağlayan, for me as a technical person, as an engineer, the basis for efficiency and for quality is repeatable processes, right? If you know how you can produce something, then you can repeat the good process. If you don't know how to do it, one time it is good, one time it is bad. So data and digitalization will help us to ensure that we can repeat certain processes. We can also repeat failures. But that's what we would like to know: where are failures and where we are right. So let's take an example. We had one use case at the electric arc furnace. Just imagine a lot of scrap comes into one bucket, and then 3 big electrodes are going into this bucket of scrap. And the electric arc that is generated at the top of the electrodes, or at the end of the electrodes, is melting down with the temperature the scrap. It takes perhaps 30-40 minutes, and then the whole scrap is molten, and you have a certain temperature. So now you have operator A, and operator A knows his process pretty well. He runs it since 15 years, and he has a good day, and he thinks, okay, now I want to make shorter cycles, and after 30 minutes I stop and I transfer the molten metal to the next station. The difficult thing is that after 30 minutes, perhaps not everything is molten, and he cannot see it. So he cannot transfer the whole metal to the next station. A certain amount will be kept inside the vessel, and this reduces the efficiency because the next process step is not getting 100% utilized because part of the metal is not arriving. So let's think on another day, he has probably the opinion, now I have to run a little bit longer. Obviously we have SOPs, how to run the process, but still the operator is controlling the process. And then he runs probably 40 minutes or 45 minutes. And in the end, the temperature difference in the past was about 200 degrees Celsius between one day and the next, or one heat and the next heat, different operators and so on. We reduced that with the digital tool that we implemented, with the use case, with the app that the operator, I measured the electricity that should theoretically be used to melt down the amount of scrap that you put into your bucket. And suddenly we see that we have a full efficiency and that the temperature varies just 50 to 100 degrees Celsius max. So we more than halved the variation of the temperature. And this means less electricity, so we do not overheat the metal. And it also means repeatedly higher throughput through the whole process. It also means if I have too hot metal at the next station, I do not have to wait until the temperature is at the right point to be added to the process. So when you think about that, it's in various ways, these kind of projects, even though you just look at one spot, it's defining the whole efficiency, not only in the melt shop, but also downstream, because all metallurgical processes that are happening afterwards are very highly depending on the temperature. So as I said in the beginning, and it was a long answer to your rather shorter question, but if you think about efficiency and quality, it all starts with repeatability and measuring your process, giving the operator who still owns and steers the process the ability to have better decision capabilities, enables the operator to take better decisions, higher throughput, lower cost, and in the end he is more happy because he has success.
And it was not a long answer, Stefan. It was music. I was just enjoying every bit of it, every note. And I cannot have enough because it's just fascinating. And the other aspect of this whole thing is people talk about digital or technology taking away jobs. This is a perfect example of reskilling the employee, making them happier, actually making them deliver a higher order value, making them feel better about themselves. It's just a wonderful transformation story. But the same employees just adopting data and creating the systems of intelligence. Again, I cannot have enough of that. You talked about heat, energy. You talked about KPIs a little bit, but I also know that from the getting smarter around energy, you get smarter about carbon emissions, and can you talk about a little bit about the sustainability aspects or impact of our work?
Yeah, you probably know, I mean, we published it in the last annual reports. Our goal by 2050, we want to be carbon neutral. So not as ambitious as probably Microsoft, who wants to be carbon negative. But for the steel industry, it's a big challenge. And if you think about what I said in the beginning regarding quality, reducing of scrap, increasing the efficiency. What I said before with a lower electricity usage, lower temperature waste, and so on, this is, of course, clear. But now think about every ton that we reduce our scrap, our quality scrap. We reduce 1.5 tons of CO2 emissions. So with every ton that we avoid the generation when we avoid 1 ton of scrap, of quality scrap, we can avoid more than 1 ton of CO2 emission to our atmosphere. And I think telling this to our employees, telling it to the operators, telling it to the people, how important quality is beside the cost implications, we owe this to our families, especially to our children. They are here in the next generation. They have to sort out what we do not do right. And in the end, out of the discussions that I had with you, we want to have our aspirations to have a legacy, to leave something behind better than it was before. And I think with digitalization, the biggest opportunity that we have in front of us is to increase the efficiency in such a way that we will leave a much more greener process behind, much more efficient process behind, and all that ends up then in cost reductions as well. And it's difficult to believe, probably, but it's all coming with one solution.
It is one aspect of our partnership, Stefan, I fundamentally believe, where we have a huge overlap in our set of values as two companies, as a partnership, and that is around sustainability. You said it well in terms of our goals and ambition, and you share from your vantage point in terms of a similar set of ambitious goals. What we can collectively do is to figure out sustainable manufacturing, sustainable production, sustainable supply chain of your entire business, and bring the power of our two companies to life as relates to carbon emissions, water, and all of the other aspects of sustainability, and just lead the way for the rest of the industry. These are amazing results, Stefan, and we're just so proud to walk with you through your journey.
Thank you. It makes us proud about the achievements, because if we when we met in Hannover Messe 18 months ago, it was more or less, you might say it was a dream or it was a vision. If a vision becomes a mission and you march on it, you know exactly where to go, and you see, okay, the first mile, the second mile I got, it's like on a marathon. If you are at kilometer 10, everything hurts, especially in a pandemic, to spend the resources over a certain distance to work on those tasks, on the use cases, on the digital platform, to think about how to roll it out over the distance, to see obviously the challenges in, let's say, collapsing markets these days, when certain areas of Europe or even globally are being shut down. Then it creates challenges regarding cost pressures, savings, and so on. Nevertheless, I think it was always a situation where we were able to have open dialogues, and we were so convinced that this is the right way, the right path forward, that we are, in my opinion, very clear to continue and really to build on the foundations that we built so far.
Stefan, talking to you is always an inspiration. Our regular calls, I'm inspired. And I'm so looking forward to just getting back together in person and spending a little bit more time together, perhaps going a little bit deeper in terms of what the future will bring. But we're just proud and so excited about the journey. I'm really looking forward to many more years of collaboration, many more years of showing success, delivering results, and leading the way in terms of the entire industry. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Çağlayan, thank you very much for this opportunity. This key partnership between Microsoft and Outokumpu is really something like what we have to continue, where we have to stay really closely connected. I think we have the chance to really revolutionize the stainless steel industry here with what we do. That's our aspiration. We will work hard for it, and I'm really glad that you are along our side to support. So thanks a lot to you and for having this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Stefan.